Thomas Hale once wore a uniform. He once stood where bullets decided who lived and who didn't. He once believed that if he survived the war, his country would remember him. Today, at 74 years old, Tom Hale sits alone on a worn wooden chair. No medals on the wall, no official recognition, no one asking how he's doing. This is the story of a man who fought for his nation and was forgotten when the fighting ended. Before the war, Thomas Hale was ordinary. So ordinary that no one ever expected history to remember his name. Tom grew up in a small working-class town where people knew each other by face, not by ambition. His father worked long shifts at a factory. His mother stayed home, making sure the family never went to bed hungry, even when money was tight. There were no family connections, no political influence, no plan beyond getting through the week. At 19, Tom's world was small. A few streets, a local diner, a radio playing news he half listened to. Then one afternoon a letter arrived. A government envelope. Plain, official. Tom unfolded it slowly at the kitchen table. He had been called to serve. His mother didn't scream. She didn't argue. She simply sat down. His father looked at him and said one sentence. Do your duty and come back alive. Training began almost immediately. For Thomas Hale, it felt rushed, like life was suddenly moving faster than he could understand. Days blurred into drills, commands, and exhaustion. They taught him how to shoot, how to march, how to follow orders without hesitation. They did not teach him how to watch friends die. The first night overseas, Tom couldn't sleep. The air felt different. The darkness felt heavier. Fear didn't arrive as panic. It settled quietly in his chest and never fully left. He learned quickly that courage wasn't the absence of fear. It was moving forward despite it. There is one night Thomas Hale never talks about, but never escapes. A routine patrol turned chaotic. Gunfire erupted from somewhere he couldn't see. Shouting, confusion. A fellow soldier, someone Tom trained beside, was hit. Not instantly, not quietly. Tom remembers dropping to his knees, pressing his hands against the wound, begging him to hold on. The radio crackled. Orders came. They had to move. Leaving him behind wasn't a choice. It was a command. That moment followed Tom Hale home. It followed him into his sleep. It still does. Thomas Hale survived the war. That's the word people use. Survived. He boarded a transport plane with dozens of others. No cheering, no speeches. When they landed, there was no celebration, just paperwork. Sign here. Turn this in. You're dismissed. One day, Tom Hale was a soldier. The next, he was just another man trying to figure out what came next. Home didn't feel familiar anymore. Friends had moved on. Some didn't want to talk about the war at all. How was it? They asked. Fine, Tom replied. Because how do you explain nightmares to people who slept peacefully? He worked wherever he could. Factories, warehouses, construction sites. Nothing lasted long. Loud noises made him flinch. Crowds made him anxious. Silence made his thoughts louder. His marriage didn't survive. Neither did many friendships. Years passed quietly. No calls, no follow-ups, no one checking whether Thomas Hale was okay. His medals stayed in a small box. Eventually, he stopped opening it. He wasn't angry at first, just tired. The country moved forward. Tom stood still. At 74, Thomas Hale's world is small again. A modest room, a pension that barely covers rent and medicine, a body that reminds him every morning of what time has taken. When people see Tom now, they don't see a veteran. They see an old man. They don't see the nights he stood watch. They don't see the friends he buried. They don't see the parts of himself he never brought home. He doesn't complain. He never learned how. When asked what hurts the most, Tom doesn't mention bullets or explosions. He mentions what came after. The fighting ended, Thomas Hale once said, but no one told us how to live afterward. He doesn't ask for praise. He doesn't ask for sympathy. He asks for remembrance, not monuments, not ceremonies, just acknowledgement. If Thomas Hale could speak directly to younger people, he would say this: War doesn't end when the shooting stops. It follows you home, it waits quietly, and it costs more than anyone tells you. Service is real. Sacrifice is real. And forgetting comes easily. Too easily. History books talk about wars. They rarely talk about men like Thomas Hale. They don't show the aging veteran sitting alone. They don't record the forgotten names. They don't measure the quiet suffering. Tom Hale didn't fight for fame, but remembrance matters, because when a country forgets its veterans, it forgets the price paid for peace. Thomas Hale once said something that never made the news. I didn't need to be a hero. I just needed to know it meant something. He fought for his country, and all he ever wanted was for his country to remember him.